Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mark Loeffler Experience. We have another great show here for you today. We got Mandy Brahnam, the joint venture queen. We're going to be going through the details of her deal from Kingston, Ontario. Bought this year, refinanced this year. It's a newer deal. And yeah, we're gonna go through all the numbers, and we're gonna learn how to turn $100,000 into $200,000 within the 6-month period. So if you guys want to learn how to double your money within 6 months, watch this thing. You're going to learn. And Mandy is a wealth of information. She obviously has her own YouTube channel. She has her own Facebook pages. We're going to link that down below. So definitely check her out. Find her on those channels. And yeah, welcome, Mandy.
Thanks, Mark. If I ever talk to you about the weather, Mark, it's like the lowest form of conversation that I have. So for you, I expect to talk about nothing but high-level real estate investing. That's always what I get from your channel. And I think it's really important that people hear this kind of conversation. I'll do a little bit of backstory on this property. So this property we found on Facebook. So we're not out there with yellow letters. I say we're as in like I have a 50-50 structure in my joint ventures. And on my 50%, I have experts that I share my 50% with. So my expert in Kingston is Fern Gauthier. He is a go-getter. He knows the city inside and out. He's got the contacts and the crews. And together we're just this well-oiled machine. So we found this property on Facebook. And it was through a realtor, really weird kind of situation. Either way, we got our realtor involved, so it could be realtor to realtor. And the weird realtor from Facebook wouldn't present the offer to the seller. So we actually had to send one of those 801s to be able to confirm that the seller got our offer, and he accepted it. We gave him full asking price, an appropriate closing date, away we go. So I had negotiated this before I found a joint venture partner, and it was before COVID, before the shutdown of COVID. So we were a little nervous of what was going to happen. Were we going to be able to close on this property? Either way, we found a partner who thought this was a very good opportunity. It was not a home run. We did not pitch it as a home run. It was just a solid asset. And that's where insert joint venture partner that came on board.
Obviously, you bought it this year. And
April the 5th of 2020.
All right, so April 5th, you bought it. When did you put it under contract?
Early March.
Early March.
Maybe
so,
end of February.
Okay, so it was a pretty quick close. And what was the purchase price?
$290,000. That was full asking. We didn't negotiate at all. That's what he wanted. That's what we gave him.
Land transfer tax, obviously you had to pay your
$40,000 initial renovation fund. So we had indicated to our partners that we were going to do $20,000 reno in the back unit that was vacant and a $20,000 exterior renovation.
Okay, and was the front unit was tenanted at the time?
It was not tenanted, but it was rent ready. It was already renovated.
Did you get an inspection?
Nope, no inspection. It was RBC, so there was no appraisal. Financing costs, yep, $1,500, or legal, no lender fees.
So you were about $102,000 to close on this investment?
Exactly.
What did you get when you renovated? What was your rent?
$2,800.
Do the tenants pay their own utilities, or is it?
Yeah, so this unit is all inclusive, and we just decided to be able to keep it that way, that we did not want to get into separating all utilities. So $350 is our utility cost. So heat, hydro, water.
Okay, that's your total utility cost. And what was your property taxes again?
$255 a month.
Okay, so just over $3,000. What was your insurance?
$105 a month.
$1,260. Mm-hmm. You charge 6% for property management, if my memory serves me correct?
Yes, we do. Yep. Yeah. And 6% for maintenance.
Yeah. What do you use for vacancy out there in Kitchener?
2%.
Okay, 2%. So I use 3%, so
yep,
it's fine.
That's good.
And what did you get on the mortgage on that first one that you got?
I like your 2.5. I think when we closed, there hadn't been too many changes yet to the interest rates. They came down more on our refi.
You have cash flow before taxes, before your refinance of $635 a month.
Correct.
So
So it was an easy property to be able to pitch to a JV because it was positive cash flow regardless of what we were able to pull out.
Okay, so I'm just putting these numbers here to remind us what our costs were. So obviously you got it reappraised. When did you get it reappraised?
September.
So okay,
so 6 months.
So 6 months in, get it reappraised. How much did you get it reappraised for?
So on our original pro forma, we'd estimated 360,000, and when the appraisal came back, it came in at 450.
So I know just from quick math, you probably got all your money out plus a little bit, and yet I see so many people now who are trying to do joint ventures and they're promising all the money back. They're not actually going into deals unless they get all their money back. And you went into this deal with saying, hey, you're probably not going to get all your money back. What was the target for them getting their money back? How much of the money were you thinking you'd get back on 360?
I like to leave their renovation funds. I like to be able to pull out their renovation funds, leaving in the original capital. So this JV partner would have had $60,000 left invested of 100 to be able to pull out that 40,000 and be able to get that moving around again for him. So yeah, that's what I like to get back is renovation funds. So the larger your renovation budget, the larger the lift should be. So, you're always aiming to get your renovation funds back. I never have promised people to get 100% refi. Now, I would tell you, Mark, in my portfolio, I have about 25 Infinity properties of the 100 properties that we hold right now that have had all of their money pulled out in under 5 years. 3 to 5 years, people have pulled out all of their money. But on the original pro formas for our first refi in the first year, there's not too many that I will promise that they'll be able to pull out their money.
If you go ahead and you do that quick math, obviously you got 290 plus 40, call it 45, so 335,000, and you got $360,000 as a mortgage. You both pulled out
14,000.
Yeah, you both pulled out $14,000 in 6 months. So you turned $100,000 into $220,000 in 6 months.
Correct. Now, I mean, you can call it horseshoes up your ass. You can call it the right renovations. You can call it the right time to buy. Like all of those factors kind of come into play. But we bought right. We renovated right. And, we weren't, it's not about the 450. It's about, we've got a solid duplex now that we're still going to hold in our portfolio for 5 years. So, all those little magic factors come together.
For sure. But I mean, it is nice to have an extra 14K in your pocket, and I'm assuming it's still cash flows. You said you got a lower mortgage rate when you refinanced?
2.1.
I mean, you're still cash flowing $130 a month, and I have a higher vacancy rate, which is not. It makes a difference, not that much though.
No.
It's still $160 a month. So you have a cash flowing property that you have zero money in, and you obviously chose to joint venture this. I mean, you didn't expect to get a $450,000 price on that, but if that was the target and you knew that, you could have done this with private money.
I could have. Now, so factors that I look at when I go, should I joint venture this or should I do this on my own? Okay, is can I finance this property when it's finished? What is my exit financing? And I think that's such a key term, and I want to drill it into everybody because there's a lot of people talking, I'll just borrow the money. I'll just do this on my own, But you will see from your numbers there, you need to be able to qualify for a mortgage. So if you are self-employed, you are, you're new to the country. I had a gentleman that, just moved from an island, came back and he didn't have 2 years worth of income. So he wasn't good. You're retired. I had a very wealthy lady who was bragging about how much wealth she had, but she didn't have an income. And that's okay. It's not as if it was affecting her lifestyle, but it affects how you finance properties. And so it affects the type of portfolio you have. I am maxed out in my residential financing. So for me to be able to finance this duplex would be not fun, providing a lot of documents, getting a lot of no's, and probably ending up with a private finance at 5 or 6%. So you just really need to make the commitment that you want to be able to do this on your own if if you can exit finance it.
Well, let's just run the numbers on it. Let's see what it would look like.
Okay.
So we're going to do a mortgage. Let's see, and we're going to do the price plus your renovation costs. Works out there 58 plus, and that I think that includes the cost of funds too.
Yeah, so right? What you're doing is you're taking what I would be paying for the down payment, because that'll need to be borrowed, and I'll need to borrow the renovations and borrow the land transfer and borrow the legal fees. So I need to borrow all of that money. So
this is a total of $62,000 over the purchase price that you're going to borrow. So you're basically in for 350, 352, 355.
Yeah.
How are we going to finance this?
Well, so I have done this before, and I get 8% on a first mortgage and 17% hard money, promissory note, not secured to any asset, can go over the 100% loan to value, can be for renovations, can be for down payment. So 17% is what you can put as an interest rate for the second mortgage.
Right. And so you're paying just over $3,000 a month. You're 6 months, that's about $18,000, $19,000. And that's obviously covered in that $62,000 that we took extra. So you're in this for exactly no money, right?
Correct. None of my own money would go into this deal right now if this were to if this were to be my choice of strategy. Yes, correct.
Which the same thing is, you didn't have any of your own money with it as a joint venture deal. It's just more of the fact that you could have done this and own 100% of the assets. So we're just kind of comparing a joint venture where you have a partner to I do this all by myself and I own 100% of the assets.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I'd get $6,200.
Finance this with an institution if I can exit finance. So a B lender, an A lender, whatever that looks like, for $450,000, and would be getting paid $6,200.
What do you think you'd be able to finance that for at a
Put 4%.
So 4%. So you're negative $200 a month. I mean, would you do that deal at negative $200 a month?
So I would take that $6,200 that I got back over and above all the borrowed funds, and I would create a reserve fund for this property. And I'd probably be able to find another $5,000 to $10,000 of my own cash, because I do have some financial stability, and I would put it into the reserve fund of this property. The answer is yes, I would do this on my own if I could exit finance the property. Yeah. But that's speculating at that 450 value. Keeping in mind, when I proposed this to a joint venture partner, I proposed it at $360,000. The appraiser, the reasons why it came in at 450, I probably will never know. We're battling with another appraiser right now that won't even give us 400 for a better property, a bigger property, more bedrooms, more updates. And he's telling us, no, it's only worth $395. So here's this anomaly that came in at 450. So the interesting thing is, I don't think if I were to have looked at this deal, I would have been speculating on this 450 value, not really sure that it was going to come in. That was like the cherry on the icing on the cake. Yeah. Whereas just the cake alone was the 360,000, which, as you can kind of see, would not have been enough for me to have done this deal on my own.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously you joint ventured this, number one, because it's less risky.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're not taking all that liability on. Number two, I mean, you're creating a win-win. Plus, you're getting actually more money in your pocket than if you had just done this deal by yourself. and you have a cash flowing asset.
Yeah, let's add on to that. I'm also I want to say it's, and this in a weird way, it's less stressful when I bring in a partner and I 80% loan to value, you know, I'm not speculating, I've got nice timelines.
Well,
But
they
when you're
have
when you
they
got
have
a
a
17,
just going to say they
when
have
you
a
have a
job
17,
and they can
they have a
they
job,
can finance. Yeah.
and when you've got 17% lingering over your shoulder, you're like, let's go, let's go, let's go. So the last deal that I had in that 100% financed world was horrendous for financing. Okay, it took us like 8 months to be able to exit finance this. You had lenders at your shoulder, like you just had everybody all hanging over me. When I was finally able to pay it off, I was like, oh my gosh, I am so glad that I am done with that. Okay, so it's not as easy as it sounds. When you bring in a partner, you're bringing in a friend, you're teaching somebody. This joint venture here, he was lovely. He's lovely. He learned so much. He asked questions, so I was having to share with him, which taught me along the way. And because we did so good, when we refinanced this property, he got financing set up for our second property. So in under a year, we now have 2 assets, 2 duplexes, 4 doors, cash flows, and he only has the same amount of money invested in 2 assets instead of 1. So it built my portfolio by 2 more doors, another $400 a month cash flow that I wouldn't have had on my own. So it's definitely scalability with joint venture partners than scalability on your own.
100%. And it's so funny because we had Kellen James on not too long ago, and like he's a good portfolio. I mean, obviously nowhere near the size of yours. I mean, you're over 300 doors in your portfolio, yet he has a different strategy and a different goal, right? He lives off the cash flow of his properties, and you know when he refinances, he'll go buy some more, and it's just a different strategy, right? It's different. I mean, well, yours is wealth creation,
Yes.
and his is income living.
So I have other friends that do joint ventures, but what they'll do is they will take this deal, they will do it themselves, and then at that 450, that's when they exit to a joint venture. So they don't bring the joint venture along for the lift.
Yeah.
And that's not wrong. But where I've come to my strategy is if I bring them along for the lift, they're going to be here for more properties because I'm going to be able to recycle their money. So I've got a mindset of abundance. I'd rather have 100 properties that, you know, have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 a year sell, or, you know, and I can balance it out. So within COVID, let's just kind of, you know, if you had 1 duplex and one of your tenants isn't paying, then you're at a 50% loss rate. With the size of portfolio that I had over COVID, I had 1% of my rents not being paid. So it didn't make such a difference. So it's a different strategy. If you are a joint venture passive investor looking for who do I connect to, then I want you to kind of know, do you want that beautiful turnkey? Do you want to be part of the ride, which is also comes along with the stress and the unknowns to be able to have that lift? Or are you, maybe you just want to be a private money lender? So I think that passive investor can actually have a variety of different reasons as to why they choose the route that they choose. But yeah.
All right. Well, any last words of wisdom before we jump off?
No, we've talked about private money. We've talked about joint ventures. It's really important for you to evaluate a deal based on the strategy that you want. So don't be wishy-washy. I want you to go into a deal and say, this is going to be a joint venture deal, or go into a deal and say, this is a private money deal, and know what your exit strategy is, because it's different depending on which strategy you're using. So my joint venture strategies, I don't get out of bed for less than 30%. That's very different than what I would be looking for if I was doing a deal private money lend. So just know what strategy it is that you're doing, and leave off with there's more money out there than there are active people. Mark, your channel attracts active investors. So there's more money out there than there are active investors. So go and attract some of that money. Go and put some of that money to work. The money is looking for you.
Yeah. Well, and to be honest with you, I'm coming to this side where I want to be the passive investor, and I want to work with active investors. So maybe one day down the road, we'll do a Dragon style type real estate panel, and we'll do some deals.
I'd really, really, really like that. I think that would be super cool. You know what? Practice your pitch. Know what you're offering to somebody. Know it inside and out. Practice it in your mirror, and be able to talk the numbers that we ran today. I can do that in my head. And you need to be able to get to that spot. That's how you know the money goes, whoa, I want to partner with that person because they know where my money is going to be going. That's really important.
Well, Mandy Brahnam, thank you so much. The JV Queen. If you guys don't follow her on social media, if you're not on, like she has a Facebook page with a lot of Canadian real estate investors, YouTube channel, podcast, we'll link it all down below. Definitely make sure you follow her. Always has great guests on, always has great knowledge to share. And yeah, thank you once again for being on the channel. I mean, you were one of my first guests, and well, hopefully you're a regular.